Hello, you fabulous viewers of my channel. I got a new present for you all today. Can you guess what it is? A new video!
Yay!
And not just any video. Today's episode is on No More Heroes 2! Remember when I did the first game a couple of months ago? Well, seeing as it's Memorial Day, one of my favorite holidays of the year, I thought it would be a good idea to make this new video be the sequel to one of my favorite games. This review is probably going to be shorter than the other ones since it's a sequel to a game I already reviewed, so I'm just going to be repeating myself at some points, but I can still make it work. Also, I didn't mention this in my previous video, but I should just so there isn't any confusion. This game originally came out on the Wii, but I'm going to be playing the version that came out on the Switch a few months ago. Anyways, let's get on with it. First up, like always, is the history. I wasn't able to find any good information on the history of this game. The most I found was that Suda51 had no intentions of making a sequel to the first No More Heroes, but decent sales numbers of the first game were enough to convince him to make a sequel. I mean, it was a game on the Wii where you take the motion control gimmicks of the Wii and use them in morbid ways. For example, when the battery on your beam katana dies, you get it to start working again by shaking it, kinda like with a flashlight. But from the way he shakes it, it looks more like he's whacking his monkey. But despite deciding to make a No More Heroes 2, Suda51 doesn't seem to have anything to do with this game. In the credits of the game, they mentioned him as executive director, but that's not a real position. He even states that in an interview he did a while back. None of the sources that I found had a concrete answer for why he didn't work on this project as much. It could be that he was co-directing Fatal Frame 4 at the same time, or he was also working on its next big title. Whatever the reason is, we ended up getting this game, and I'm still talking about it. Okay, seeing as I just talked about the history of this game, obviously I'm going to talk about the story of this game next. So, in order for me to go into the story of this game, I will need to talk about the ending of No More Heroes 1, seeing as this game is a sequel to that game, and it obviously follows up on the first game. So, this is your spoiler warning. You got that? Good. So, No More Heroes 2 takes place after the events of No More Heroes 1. Travis managed to kill all 10 assassins and become their #1 ranked assassin. Unfortunately, as it turns out, there is no UAA. The whole thing was just a scam set up by Sylvia to get as much money from Travis as she could. And once she was done with that, she just vanishes without even giving Travis her pussy like she promised. Either way, after becoming the #1 ranked assassin, Travis disappeared for 3 years, and in that time, a lot has happened. More than half of the citizens of Santa Destroy saw what Travis did in the first game and thought it was cool, and then decided, hey, I want to do it too. They then went on to make a real UAA that Sylvia still seems to be running for some strange reason, but now there's even more ranks. When Travis returns, he is shocked to find out that not only has he dropped in the rankings, but also his best friend Bishop from the rental shop has been killed by the head honcho of the UAA and also the #1 ranked assassin Jasper Bad Jr. After receiving the head of his best friend, he decides then and there that he wants to avenge Bishop, and thus begins his adventure to kill the other 50 ranked assassins of the UAA. Yeah, you heard that right, 50 other assassins. And if you think that this game is going to take forever, you'd be mistaken because there are only 15 bosses in this game. Also, it's kind of ironic that in the previous game, this all started because someone killed your parents, but you only go through with it so that you can do some insane lady. But in this game, you go through with it because your best friend died and you want to get revenge. Okay, now that the story is out of the way, we can move on to the presentation, or the visuals, or how the game presents itself. This game still has some juvenile jokes. You still save the game by excreting your bowels, but for 2 levels, you play as this one girl from the first game, and when you save, instead of taking a dump, you take a shower. Oh, and remember what I said about how you power your katana by jerking off? Well, There's this running gag in the game where whenever Travis gets an erection, he turns his beam katana on. However, aside from that, this whole game was a lot darker. Not really from the look, although this game does seem a lot less brighter than the first game. I was referring more to the story of the game. Yeah, it's weird to talk about the story again, although we already just had an entire section dedicated to talking about the story, but the story is always what seems to grab my attention most in this game, and everything here just seems more twisted and morbid. To start off, back in the first game, Travis was trying to become a legend among assassins. But at the end of the game, he walked away from all of it because he realized how insane it was and decided he didn't want any part of it. But then everyone saw what he did and thought it was cool and decided they wanted to do it too. And now everyone is going around killing each other. It's super effed up that the city turned murder into a competitive sport. The kind that ESPN would monitor. Seriously, these fights are broadcasted everywhere for people to see, and it's all because of Travis. He did walk away from all of this, but like it or not, he became an icon for these people. Something for people to justify all the killing that they are doing. On the flip side, the other members of the UAA are people you either killed in the previous game and have come back wanting revenge, or are people who are related to those people you killed in the previous game and they want revenge. Bringing the story back to the major themes of revenge, if you will. For example, at the beginning of the game, the first person you fight is Skelter Helter, the brother of the first person you killed in the previous game. Side note for a second, in my review of the first game, I called him Skelter Helter, when his name is Helter Skelter. Skelter Helter is the younger brother. Okay, glad I could get that off my back. Skelter Helter wants revenge for you killing his brother, and you don't even remember doing it. In a clever nod to that fact, in the first game, you never actually got to fight Helter Skelter. You saw Travis fight him in the trailer, but that's it. But regardless of whether or not you remember killing Helter Skelter, Skelter Helter is here now, and he wants revenge for you killing his brother. Like I just said. Again. But it's not just him that wants revenge, there's also Jasper Bat Jr., the guy who sent those goons to kill your best friend. The reason he does it is that you killed his father and two brothers, and just like with Skelter Helter, you don't even remember doing it. Well, actually, you probably do remember doing it, but in the first game when you killed his father and brothers, they just looked like regular goons. But that's not how Jasper viewed them. He was very upset when you took them from him, so he decided to take someone from you. It all just leads you to wonder if you should be doing any of this in the first place. I mean, Bishop died because Travis killed someone that he shouldn't have. He messed with the bull and his friends got the horns. Violence begets violence. Wow, I did not expect to get 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, or however long that segment was out of that. But anyways, on to the gameplay. Okay, so the gameplay in No More Heroes 2 is a lot like the gameplay in No More Heroes 1, so I'm just gonna be repeating myself if I continue to talk, but I can still think of something new to talk about with the game. I can talk about what they did new, and what they did right, and wrong. So, you still go around cutting up every baddie you see, but now that's all you do. In the previous game, every level had a gimmick to it. Whether it was playing baseball with your beam katana, or fighting on a beach while avoiding mines, or riding around on your motorcycle killing everyone in a baseball stadium. But in this game, all you do is kill baddies, and it gets boring and repetitive after a while. Like, there was this one time where you killed baddies in a parking lot for like 5 to 10 minutes. The first time I played it, I was just thinking to myself, am I doing something wrong here? Is there something I'm supposed to do? But no, all you're supposed to do is just kill the baddies, and then eventually the prompt that lets you proceed to the next area appears, and then you can go and kill even more baddies. Yay! At least they made it easier to get power-ups from the roulette in this game. All the power-ups make a return, except for one. The cherry still makes you move super fast for a few seconds, and the bell still gives you a gun, but unlike the first game, you move much faster and they got rid of the tank controls when using it. The jackpot, or 3/7, still gives you an explosion attack, but instead of saving it to use whenever you want, it just happens right then and there. Which can be a little disappointed when you get it after killing the last enemy and there's no more enemies to kill, so you just waste the explosion. But I think one of my favorite power-ups has got to be the bars. In the previous game, you just walked up to enemies really slowly, push a button when a prompt appears, and then you kill them instantaneously. But in this game, you turn into a tiger and become invincible while you one-hit kill every enemy for a few seconds. But I gotta say, it is so much fun running around as a tiger, just causing so much mayhem everywhere you go. In addition to the roulette power-ups, you also have a new meter called the Ecstasy Gauge. When it fills up, your beam katana extends a little bit, but if you press the button, you get a short bit of invincibility and become super fast for a few seconds. The only downfall is that your Ecstasy Gauge goes down whenever you get hit, which can be annoying when you're put in a room with a bunch of enemies and you think now will be a good time to use your Ecstasy Gauge, only for you to get hit by one of the enemies with a gun from far away, and then your Ecstasy Gauge goes down and you can't use it. Here's something I didn't mention in my previous game, but the different beam katanas. You have 4 different beam katanas to choose from. First, there is the one you start out with, Bloodberry. It's basically just the basic beam katana, there's no real special perks about it. You could do worse, but you could also do better. Next, making its return from the first game, there's Sabuki Mark III. This one isn't as strong as the other ones, but you swing it really fast. I'd have to go say it's probably my favorite, but I still make sure to use all of the different beam katanas. Next, you have Peony, or Peony, or however you pronounce it. It's this really big, bulky one that hits really hard, but you swing it really slow. I only use it on the heavies. And then last, there are Rose Nasty, a pair of dual-wield katanas that allow you to attack multiple times. You obviously don't get these ones until towards the end of the game, but when I did, they were all I ever used. In the previous game, you could only change your beam katanas at your apartment, but in this game, you bring all your swords with you and you can change them on the spot. It kind of adds a little bit of uniqueness to the different beam katanas you get. In the first game, each beam katana was just stronger than the last one, so there was no real reason to go back to the previous beam katanas. But in this game, giving each beam katana different stats and abilities and being able to change them on the spot kind of adds a bit of challenge and strategy as to which beam katana should I use for right now. If there is one thing that I'm glad hasn't changed, it's the bosses. The bosses were always the best part of the game, with how eccentric they can all be and always have some weird quirks to them. And in this game, they were kind enough to give you a mode where you can fight the bosses whenever you want. Of course, you have to beat the game first. Okay, so that's it for everything you do when you're an assassin. What about everything you do outside of that? Well, there's not much to go over. They got rid of the open world part of the game, so there's no feeling of exploring Santa Destroy and looking for collectibles. You can still do odd jobs for money, and all these odd jobs are 8-bit mini-games because Travis loves video games. There's just one big problem. There are no entry fees to get into the next ranking fight. You could just fight them whenever you want now, so there's no real point to get the money. I say there's no reason to get money, but there's still things to buy, such as beam katanas. All 2 of them. Or you can go to the gym and work out to increase your stats. Or you can go and buy new clothes. And the clothes this time come in pairs, so you can buy clothes and mix and match to your liking. I don't know, I was never into fashion. When you are bored of all of that, you can spend time with your cat Jean. It's been 3 years, and in those 3 years, Jean has gotten fat. You gotta get her back into shape by giving her massages, stretches, and tricking her into exercising. Do all this and you get a oh thanks, I'll be sure to not use that. Alright, this video is almost over. Closing thoughts. I didn't enjoy this game as much as the previous one. There isn't much to do in this game outside of the rank fights, and those get repetitive, that all you want to do is stop playing, but no, you have to defeat the next assassin and continue. Anyways, I still had a lot of fun playing this game, and it helps that the game is only $20 on the eShop. But anyways, that's all the time we have for today. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and subscribe, and then give that bell a click. That way, you can know when my videos come, even if it takes 2 months. But aside from that, also feel free to comment down in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you whatever.